For this design, in order to change the color as well as inserting the trims, this is the way that I actually went about it. So first of all, I used the drop down and chose import to, and I'll go to your folder. Whoops, wrong one. And I'm just kind of going through here, getting to the right folder, and choose the file and go ahead and hit open. So we see here, I'm going to hit the go button, we see here that the outline of the state is the same color as the lettering like we saw before, and also on the left hand side how it's broken up. So the state is actually separated, so I'm just going to left click on the state right here, the state outline. With a left click on this frame, it acts as a right click on screen. I'm going to go ahead and change the color, and we're just going to change the color to black, press OK, and now we see there's a new color in there. You can also see in frame 2 and 4, those are blank, and if you look at it, those are actually showing jump stitches. So I'm going to left click inside number 2, hold my control key, left click inside number 4, and I'm going to do a control delete. I'll say yes, I do want to delete those, and also I will put in a trim after the E. If I left click on that little scissors, you can see now I have a trim. But the problem, we still have a problem right here with the trims between the L and the K and the S. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And the way that we can insert a trim is, first of all, I'd like to view my needle penetrations. So I can click on the icon for needle penetrations, and I can see my needle penetrations. You can see these little dots. And I also need to go to the edit mode. So I'll left click on the edit mode. And in here, I want to try and find the last stitch of the L, but the first stitch of the K. So I'm going to put my cursor over what I think is the last stitch, and sometimes, zooming in will help. So in the edit mode, I'm going to go ahead and place my cursor over the stitch. It can be a bit temperamental, but once it's over the stitch, your cursor turns into a little crosshair. I'm going to left click. Now that turns into a red X, marking the spot or marking the stitch. And you only get this in the edit mode, in the edit stitches mode. I can use my up and down arrow keys. The up arrow key, I'm pressing that right now, is going to previous stitches. The down arrow key is going to go to the next stitches. So I see here that the next stitch was the first stitch of the K. I'm going to press the up arrow key. So I want to go to the last stitch of the L, which is right before, the first stitch of the K. What I like to do to maintain the integrity of the design is add a stitch in between the two, and then convert that stitch into a trim. So I will go up to Stitch and Insert Stitch. When I choose Insert Stitch, it's going to insert a stitch in between the previous stitch, which I have selected, and the next stitch. So I will just, you can see now my cursor is connected to that thread. I'm going to left click. Now I can keep adding more, but I only want to add one stitch because then I want to turn it to a trim. So I hit escape to get out of the tool. That stitch is now marked. With that stitch marked, I'm going to go up to Stitch, Replace Stitches by, Trim. So now I have a trim there. I'm going to go on to the next area. And I see between here and here there needs to be a trim. So I'm going to put my cursor over one of those stitches. I'm going to hit the up arrow key. It'll go to the previous stitch. The down arrow key will go to the next stitch. So this is the last stitch of this area, and then it jumps here. So with that marked, I'm going to go to Stitch, Insert Stitch, and I just put it off to the side so I can see it. Press Escape. With it selected, I'm going to go to Stitch, Replace Stitches by Trim. And I'm going to scroll through here, and I see that there's a stitch from the bottom of the K up to the top of the S. So I'm going to put my cursor on one of those stitches, left click to mark it. I'm going to use the down arrow key to go to the next stitch, the up arrow key to go to the previous stitch. So once I'm at the last stitch of the K, it's marked, I'll go to stitch, replace stitches by, insert stitch, which you can see here too, the quick key is S. I'm just going to go ahead and bring this over here, left click, press escape to get out of the tool. Once I hit escape, that area is, or that stitch is marked. Go to stitch, replace stitches by trim. So if I zoom out, I click on the 1-to-1, and I'm going to turn off the edit stitches mode right there, and turn off the needle penetrations. And I'm also going to go ahead and show it in the 3D. You can see now I don't have any any jumps anymore. You can see between the E, the L, and K, I did put in the trim, and then you have a color change here, which will do a trim as well. So after that is done, I'll re-export it. So I'll use export to. I've already re-exported it once. There's the edit right there. Just make this edit 1 and hit save. And then it's re-exported and you should have your trims in. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.